I lost $14,000 from day trading yesterday and I made quite a few mistakes. It's the next morning for me. I journal, I look at my mistakes, and that's when I thought might as well make a video because I get this question a lot from traders asking me, how do you journal? How do you work on your mindset every single day, especially after facing a huge loss? Because trust me, my dopamine is under the baseline now. If you guys saw my last video on mental health and trading, you guys know what I'm talking about. So my dopamine is low. I'm not feeling that motivated. My sleep was also not that good. That's our job as traders. So how do you reset your dopamine? That topic was covered in the last video. But what is your process? Like, what is your process of learning from your mistakes and improving the following day? Because we might actually see a playbook set up today itself. So that is what I will be discussing in this video, my journaling process, my process of learning from my mistakes and improving the next day. So we are back in my office now, and I actually have the live recorded trading session of all the losses I took. So I'm going to be sharing that as well, discussing my thought process. But before we do that, I want to share my game plan with you guys because you guys need to understand why I sized up on that trade opportunity, because it was a playbook opportunity in my opinion, and I made a few mistakes as well. So let's start with the game plan first. So here's my game plan that I post every single market open day in the Discord community. I'm going to just maybe maximize it. I took a screenshot. So that it's easier for you guys. So yeah, my first stock at the top was Microsoft. Nice technical setup for all-time high break, but needs momentum and volume because the volume is lacking. And this is where I made my mistake. We'll wait for R wall to kick in for 462, 465 break for all-time high continuation, which is around 468 or maybe around 470. We're going to look at the technicals as well next. So here's the daily chart of Microsoft in front of you guys. And we can see that recently we pushed towards the upside. After the earnings, we broke above this trend line, had a nice support near this trend line, pushed towards the upside. And for the past few days, for the past 1 week, we have been forming a range between 460 and 448, around 450, this 10-point zone right here. And then the previous trading day, which was on Tuesday, 27th of May, we actually closed strong above that zone. So the following day, we were gapping up slightly, very slight gap up. I was watching the stock for a push and continuation towards the all-time high, which is 468.35, for a possible move towards 470. So here's a live recording trading session, and it's right around 9:30 a.m. The market is about to open, and you guys can see that Microsoft opened right near $460 level, and this is the exact level that I was watching for a push towards the upside. On the first 1 minute, we can see a lot of people are hitting the ask price. We are seeing a lot of green. And when I saw this nice momentum towards the upside around 462, I entered my position. I am planning to enter my position. I just have my sell order ready, worst case scenario, because I always have a market order ready if I am especially trading off the open, because the premiums can be very volatile. So I entered 400 contracts. My fill price was approximately 2.3 average fill price. And you guys can see I have a safety order ready. This is just a safety order, 400 contracts, because if it drops against me very, very quickly, I want to exit right at the market. And you guys will see that this order actually worked in my favor, because I would have lost a lot more money than I was expecting to lose had I just held this position for 10 more, 15 more seconds. Now we are on the second minute candle, and you can see that the momentum is still not there. We actually closed under 462 on that first 1 minute. And the worst part is that QQQ was also dropping. So right around here, 461.7-ish, I covered my position for a loss of around $13,000. But you can see that had I held this position for even a few more seconds, the premiums dropped to 1.78, 1.75. So I would have lost maybe $8,000 more on top of what I already lost, right? That's why it's very important to have a safety market order ready, especially off the market open, and especially if you're sizing up and if you're taking anything more than 100 to 100 contracts. My second trade was on Meta. Meta was also on my game plan for a break above 640, 650, and it just rallied right off the open. I missed my entry. Then I waited for a pullback around 648, 647, which I also saw is holding on the tape. The market also actually pushed towards the upside slightly. Meta was holding definitely stronger than the market. I was looking at 655 calls, and right around this pullback, hold of 647, 648, I took a starter position. I took 50 contracts, and then I'm going to add to my position. Eventually, it broke above 650, but again, the volume was just lacking. If you guys can see R wall right there at the top right corner of my chart above the time and sales and the level 2, it's only 56, 57%. So the R wall was low. I was expecting a momentum move above 650. That's not what we got, and that's why I just covered my position for a small profit. Now, after about 4 minutes of my last exit, I saw that Microsoft is again going for the high of the day break, 462, 463 zone. The market is also pushing towards the upside. And this 5 minutes candle might actually close really bullish now. So that is why I was watching this stock very closely. But this time I won't be sizing up as big as my first position because I'm already nicely red for the day. So I don't want to dig myself a deeper hole. I just took 100 contracts at this push up. 2.12, 2.16 was my fill price. And then I was waiting for a pullback eventually to add 100 more contracts to my position. But my goal is not to take like 400 contracts. But if I get a good entry, I'm willing to add in total, making it 200 contracts. Now, as always, I have a safety order ready. You guys can see I have a sell order ready at the top. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the quantity to 100, change the order type to market order. If in case it just rejects all of a sudden, I want to exit at the market, which actually saved me on the first trade, saved me $8,000 on the first trade. On this pullback, I was thinking to add more, but again, the tape was not really strong. So instead of adding, now I'm thinking of exiting. And that's the thing about day trading. You have to think on your feet. It's not like, okay, it's holding a level, I'm going to enter. No, you have to look at the tape and the market as well. The market QQQ was actually pushing towards the upside during this time, but Microsoft was not pushing with weak tape. And that's why I just decided to cover my position for another around $4,000 loss on this trade. And here's my last attempt on this stock. Finally, we closed really strong on the 5 minutes. We are kind of making a triangle. We are making a top near high of the day. So if we break above this high of the day, we might actually see a good push towards the upside. I again took 100 contracts, willing to add more if we actually get a breakout. But the same thing happened. We got rejected and I covered my position for another loss. And this is where I accepted defeat. I'm down $13,000 for the day. Out of that, $17,000 is on Microsoft. I made $4,000, around 4,500 on Meta, which was, again, it failed to work out, but I ended up being green. But yeah, overall, I just accepted defeat. You guys can see the defeat on my face. We were also trading on the voice chat with the Discord members. I shared my complete thought process, all the losses live with the Discord members, no hiding my losses here, because of the previous day itself, I made 18.5K approximately on one trade. And today, after 4 losses or 3 or 4 losses or whatever, if I'm losing $13,000 and if I can make $18,000 on one winner, that is good risk management in my opinion. That is the exact reason I share my losses, because trading is not like making money every single day. You just need to make your green trades bigger than your red trades. And if I'm making $18,000 to $20,000, maybe even $50,000 on one green trade, that one green trade will pay for maybe 10 more losses. And that is the beauty of risk management in the stock market. And that is the only difference between gambling and trading. The odds are kind of similar, but just the risk management thing is the only difference between gambling and trading. As I mentioned, I accepted defeat. It's been like 30 minutes since my last exit, and we were discussing on the voice chat. You guys can see my face. I'm talking with the Discord members, and Tesla finally broke out towards the upside, but I still wanted it to get above the prior day's high, which is right under 364. The volume is also going to increase. Everything was picture perfect on this stock, and I think this was still a good trade. I entered on the small pullback on the 1 minute chart, expecting a break towards 365, and everything was really good on this trade, but this is another picture perfect example of a fake out. We see playbook setups on breakouts, but this is a perfect, like this can go in a book, how to avoid fake outs. This was a really good example of a fake out. On this trade, I was actually green. I was nicely green. Like I had 200 contracts. So I was up approximately $7,000 to $8,000 on this trade, which would have put me like under $10,000 red for the day, maybe around like $5,000, $6,000. But I was just expecting a break above 365. That is the thing. This trade can't be influenced by my P&L for the day. If I'm taking 200 contracts on this trade, I'm expecting a break above 365, and it actually pushed. I was green unrealized, but I was just expecting a break above high of the day, which is right at 365. And right around this rejection under the prior day's high, I saw that tape is getting weak. You guys can see a lot of people are hitting the bids. So that was, again, as I said, a really good example of a fake out. I covered my position for a loss of only $1,200 on 200 contracts on Tesla. Yes, I can argue the fact that I was up $7,000, but that was not my potential reward on this trade. The trade idea just failed to work out, and I exited this trade for only $1,200 loss on 200 contracts, which is pretty good. And I was able to keep my losses small just because of tape reading as well. I exited right before this huge breakdown. And this is when I accepted my defeat for the second time. We ended the webinar, the voice trading session. I closed my platform. You guys can see I moved the mic out of my face, and then I just grabbed my phone just to divert my mind because This is what happens in the market. You will face defeats maybe every single day, maybe 5 times every single day, but you just have to reset your dopamine. If you guys saw my last video, you know what I'm talking about, and just be prepared for the next trading session. So yes, I lost $14,000 on this day, but not every loss is a complete loss if you actually take your lessons, if you actually learn your lessons and improve the following day. So my lessons learned from these losses on, especially on Microsoft. Meta was still a green trade and Tesla was still like an intraday scalp. I lost less money on that, but the $17,000 loss on Microsoft, which was a playbook setup, which was my main game plan. The first lesson that I can learn from Microsoft, my very first trade that I took at 9:30 a.m., the very first trade right off the market open, I took 400 contracts on. That was the biggest loss of the day. Wait 5 minutes, right? And why? Because I know these stocks like Meta and Microsoft and even like Google last week. Google had a nice playbook setup and it actually moved after 9:40 or 9:45 a.m. These are not momentum stocks. They really get the momentum, especially without any news catalyst, without earnings. You actually have to wait for the first 5 to 15 minutes. So that is one lesson I can learn from my mistake on my very first trade on Microsoft. So it's not a complete loss if you actually learn your mistakes, learn from your mistakes and learn the lessons. Now, the second lesson I can take away from my other 2 trades on Microsoft, the very first thing I discussed before we even started with the game plan is that the volume was low. You guys saw in my game plan that I mentioned in the Discord group that the momentum is not there on the stock. The volume is low. And the R-wall, which is the relative volume on Microsoft, was around 50 to 60%, which is really low. Like I have been trading for 7 years and I have rarely seen a stock going for all-time high with an R-wall of 50 to 60%. Because if a stock wants to go for all-time high, a lot of algos kick in, a lot of buyers, they try to buy their positions, a lot of sellers, they sell at all-time high, a lot of short sellers who shorted the stock near the prior all-time high, they are going to cover their position. So the volume needs to go up. And that is not what was happening. The R-wall was consistently around 50 to 60%. Even though it was a really nice price action setup, the 5 minutes was really strong close. But because I have been trading for the past 7 years, I have the experience. I know pretty sure, like I was 90% sure that with an R-wall of 50 to 60%, it's not going to go for all-time high. That's why I took less. I took less contracts. I only took 100 contracts compared to my 400 contracts of the open. But still, this loss, these 2 losses could have been avoided. So these are the 2 lessons I can learn from my 3 losses on Microsoft. So guys, always remember, no loss is a complete loss if you actually learn from your mistakes, because you are just paying the tuition fees. And this is something I remember I read in the book, The Daily Trading Coach. No loss is a complete loss if you actually learn from your mistakes. And I have been trading for 7 years now. I still learn from my losses. If you guys like these kind of videos, this kind of format, let me know in the comment section below. And obviously, like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're new. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.